Welcome again, everybody, to another week, the Comic Book Syndicate weekly reviews online. Isn't that right, Mike?
That's right, George. Another weekly episode, and I'd like to thank you, George, for always being here as usual.
Here down at the balmy Windsor waterfront in the Sculpture Garden.
And now on to the comic books. Hey guys, here we are again with George, who's right next to us.
Indubitably.
Our first comic this week is Nemesis by Mark Millar. Michelle, what did you think of it?
I thought that it was good. It's the first issue, and it's funny because on the cover it's like makes Kick-Ass look like shit, and it's funny because Mark Millar's making fun of himself because Kick-Ass was also done by Mark Millar. The action was pretty good. The suspense was pretty good. It's a good setup for a supervillain who's targeting cops. I thought the artwork was really bright. I thought it was original, and I would recommend it. I would like to see where it goes.
And in his first appearance in our weekly show, Max Marshall.
You know what? I like Nemesis because it was a real bubblegum flavor to a real hardcore supervillain. Totally ruthless, a lot of swear words, a lot of terrible things this man does. Dressed in white, looks quite approachable as far as superheroes go. I liked it because it left a bubblegum flavor in my mouth as far as being completely evil goes. Yeah.
George?
No, I'm not hungry.
Interesting.
Yes, I agree. I would like to say the cover blurb is kind of ridiculous. It's too self-referential. Mark Millar is a good writer, but he's writing extreme style again. Everything is over the top. Everything is to the extreme.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does remind me of the taste of soap.
And again, it's sort of clearly he's doing this for a movie deal. This will be picked up for a movie probably within the next few months, and it's sort of very obvious why he's doing this comic. I do think it's a decent comic, maybe a little bit too reminiscent of the Dark Knight film.
Good call.
One scene was almost straight out of Dark Knight, but it was an enjoyable comic. The artwork was excellent, but Steve McNiven's art does lose something without the inks. I thought the ink, there was no inker. It was just it was generated
Yeah, I
straight
noticed
from his
that, but I
pencil.
kind of liked that. I thought that was it was smooth.
That's
it was
the
refreshing,
bubble gum.
kind of.
That's the bubble gum.
Okay, that was the bubble gum.
That's the tone, the color of the bubble gum.
Yes.
Okay, so
There's taste and color, all this.
all in all, a good comic. Pick it up. Next up is Moon Knight. George, you can start us off.
Yeah, this one reminds me of buying garbage bags. You buy them, just to throw them out.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Michelle, what did you think of Moon Knight?
I haven't really read much of Moon Knight before, and honestly, I didn't really understand quite what was going on. I thought it was pretty, but honestly, it didn't really have much substance to it, and there was a lot of action, there's a lot of over-the-top action, but it didn't intrigue me at all, and maybe I do need to go back, and maybe for hardcore Moon Knight fans, they'll know what's going on, but it didn't really get me at all.
Max.
I'm feeling the same way. Like we were talking about Nemesis before, and there's a nice, crisp movie aspect, a cinematic aspect to all these comic books. And yeah, I felt the same way. A comic book nowadays, you almost have to be able to have a replay value of being able to just jump right into the middle of the series and be able to pick up. And with the Moon Knight, there was a lot of references to things that you would have to go back and which makes sense. They want you to buy some more comics, but.
Are you
And you know what? Here's what I don't understand. Some comic books just say the swear words, and other comic books bleep them out.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal? Is there like an age limit that they're trying to hit home, or
No one knows the answer.
No
to
one
this.
knows
Like the statues on Easter Island, who made them? No one knows. Moon Knight. I did read the last issue. That was terrible. So knowing that going in, even though this issue wasn't so bad, it was almost like so confusing and so little there that there wasn't enough to be bad. So you think, well, maybe it is good and I just don't understand it, but it actually is bad because I read the last issue and it's the same writer. The ending I don't understand. Maybe someone who's read the entire series would, but unfortunately because I don't know what's going on, it has no meaning to me. However, I was surprised. The art was actually really good.
Yeah.
So be very cautious if you're going to pick up this comic. To be honest, it's not great. If you're a huge fan of Moon Knight, pick it up, but otherwise don't bother. Scalped, Michelle.
I loved this comic. I have been wanting to get into Scalped for a while, and we jumped in at a perfect moment because honestly, it's one of the most fearless comics that I've read in a very long time. I've never seen homosexual undertones displayed in a fashion that was not stereotypical, that was dark, that was meaningful, that was just honest, and I loved it. It was great. It was really, really, really good, and it's good to see it. I really, really enjoyed it. I respect the people who are making it a lot, and I thought the artwork was very, very good. It's original. It's a story all contained in itself, and it's beautifully done. It's tragic, and it's really, really good, and it's fearless, and that's what I like about it. So, yeah.
George? Give him a second, guys. Okay.
Not in a million years. Not with a 10-foot cattle prod.
Max, what did you think?
I can truly endorse this because it's got all of the other aspects of a comic book that comic books have always had. But you know what's good about it is, from if you're 12 all the way up to middle age or something like that, it's always a good message to realize that as far as sexual rights goes, we're all in the same boat. And I think it's a delicious piece of meat to sink my teeth into. The comic book too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually thought I've heard a lot about this comic, and it was actually really good, well written. I actually got to the end of the story and realized that I didn't know who was narrating it, partly because I'm not a regular reader, but also because it was done in a slightly clever way.
Yeah.
So very skillfully written, good art, highly recommended. It's a really good comic. That's all I can say. Pick it up. Oh, what was that, George?
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Ah, he's right, actually.
For once.
Yeah. Okay, so
Let's play ball.
that wraps up another episode. Hey, George, wasn't it fun?
That's right, Michael. Thank you very much again, Border City, for all the great comic books.
Yeah, I like to as well.
Join us again next week for another exciting episode of the Comic Book Syndicate.
You got it. He gave it away. Spoiler alert.